can the mind be reduced to the brain? Is mental activity ultimately neural activity? So there's a few layers to this that really this requires references to empirical studies and more careful cogitation, but we're gonna start to put together this amorphous thought conversationally, and then we distill it more carefully into an essay later. So, can the mind be reduced to the brain? I don't have the answer, but as more and more neuroscience comes in, it seems like the answer is, well, it seems like the answer is that at the very least, the mind is enabled by the brain, and mental activity is ultimately a property of neural activity. But reducibility of mind to brain is a different question, right? So the mind could be completely underpinned by the brain and by neural activity, but it doesn't mean that we can unscramble the mind to the neural activity, right? Can an omelet be reduced to the egg? Yes, but can we unscramble the omelet and turn it back into whole eggs? No, we can't. So the concept that seems to split the difference between true materialism with regards to the mind being ultimately a property of the brain and dualism, where the mind is separate from the brain, right? You have your brain, which is ultimately part of your body, and then you have your mind, which is itself immaterial. So the concept that splits the difference here would be the theory of emergence, or emergentism. So emergentism, or the theory of emergence as regards the brain, as regards the mind, states that yes, the mind is a property is an outflow of the brain. I'm losing power here. Is an outflow of the brain, but it cannot be reduced to the brain because in the mind's emergence from these properties of neural activity, we lose that true materialistic tract, and ultimately we have a mind that is immaterial in some sense, right? It cannot be reduced back to the brain. And again, there's levels of this. There's strong emergence, there's weak emergence. We can get into it in a different video, but the idea is that on one hand, we could say that the brain, or the mind, is an emergent property of the brain, but it's too intractable to reduce it back to the brain. So if you had the contents, if you had someone's mental content, it does not mean that you could show the neural content. Now the taking this idea further would be the idea that yes, the mind is an emergent property of the brain, but it ultimately takes on immaterial, non-material properties in its emergence. And so it becomes more than the sum of its parts. It's not just mathematically intractable, it actually becomes something immaterial.